with every head bowed, every eye closed. Father, into thy hands we commend our spirit. It was nothing that we had done so great or so good, but we all know that the glory and honor belongs totally to you.
Yes.
It is in this very hour, Father, you have already blessed us with the visitation of many who know you not only by name, but they know you by spirit. But we've come to worship. We've come to give you the glory, honor, and all of the praise. Now show us how to let go and let God have his way. It is in Jesus' name. Somebody shout amen.
Amen.
God bless you. You may be seated in the presence of Almighty God. We say to each of you this morning in the Spirit of Christ that he is able to do all things. To the families that have traveled from near and far, and especially to our family that have come from Kansas, as well as Maryland, D.C., and the reunion of even some of our members from years back. It is a blessing to be in the house of worship. And to our First Lady, who has come and give us not only the good news, but things that, but worship, and Sister Hearn touched on more ways than one. I said for a minute there, I started to give the benediction before we go home. Amen. But the truth be told, you can't worship with what you don't have. Amen. And that's where the Word comes in. We must have the Word of God. Amen. Deacon Washington read the passage beautiful this morning, and some of you sound like, or act like he should have read more. Well, maybe you ought to read the entire chapter, and it talks about many things, but that's what we want to focus on this morning in the way of Scripture. As a thought runs through our minds, it's all about what went on at Calvary. On last week, we hovered right there on Father, forgive them. And we're not trying to repeat the 7 last words of Jesus, because year after year we wait until Easter to be reminded of the 7 last words, and we're not living like God wants us to live. But we ought to commemorate those words deep within our hearts throughout our discipleship and trying to make heaven our home. Do I have a witness out there? So the 7 last words is not what we're trying to iterate here. We just want to paint a picture until we get to the morning message at 6 o'clock on Easter morning, as well as the 10 o'clock service that will follow. But leading you up to the lentage, that what took place in that time frame. Son, could you read that verse one more time? And as deep as your voice is, I want to feel the thunder from the very words that you're saying, that the hearers may know that the truth will set us all free. Amen?
And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand, and one on the other on the left hand.
The picture here painted is 2 thieves that were nailed beside him. But the whole story is based on this place called Calvary, Golgotha, out on the hill. So we would leave a message or a thought with you this morning. Amen. We just would like you to focus on way out on a hill. Look at somebody real quick and say, neighbor, it was way out on a hill. Now, hill in most places, most folk think of high elevation and climbing or mountains. And often we would think that it's a strain just to get up the hills. Specifically, tell me if you're in good shape, you have no problem. But you're old as I am, a hill is hard to climb every now and then. Do I have a witness? Age is not the factor. Here it just so happens that the body runs down. But that's the physical side. The spiritual aspects of the message on this morning, that we stopped by to tell you that it was out on a hill called Calvary, where Jesus, who had no sin, knew no sin, had never done anything wrong, but it was on this hill that he delivered and set free the punishment that we were justified having, but he paid the price.
Oh, yeah.
And I find here that he had never been drunk a day in his life. That's to the alcoholics or the addicts. That he was modest. He was a godly. He had never been impure or wicked or even hateful. Nor was he unfaithful. But yet he died for all of us when we should have paid the price ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but Easter to me comes every day. We just celebrate it once a year. That and Christmas are one of too many dates that sticks in our minds in an international celebration. But if you know that he died for your sins, and if you feel and know that he has risen again, dying daily shouldn't be hard for any of us in here, if we are on the right road to glory. So this place called Calvary was a place that we should never forget. Not only should we never forget, but we have to look at from whence we came and was delivered. I find that it was Calvary where he who had never been a criminal, or a gossiper, or a blasphemy, or a backbiter, or a lawbreaker, or even an evildoer, died for all of us who had been guilty of each of these things.
Oh, yeah.
And although multitudes have died before him, this place called Golgotha was a place, a main road in a city, where the main route of traffic would look on those hanging on a tree. And on this hill called Calvary, there they hung your Savior and mine, to be on display for something that he had not even done. And I don't know about you, but every now and then I feel down in the dumps about how guilty I was out in the world of sin. And in many ways, all of us still have the stain of sin on us until that final day. So this place called Calvary is not just a cross or emblem that we wear on our neck, but Calvary should represent being set free from all of our sin.
Amen.
See, when Christ went to Calvary, it was for the suffering of the unjust. When he went to Calvary, it was pure suffering for the impure. When he went to Calvary, it was for the imperfect, as in you and I are. This holy suffering was for the unholy, the lives that we're living even in this day and time. This highest suffering is for the lowest sting of sin that man can commit on a daily basis. And I don't know about you, but the world is in a sad condition when it comes to folk loving one another. Do I have a witness?
Amen.
Look at somebody real quick and say, way out on the hill. More than just him dying happened out there, he bore the sins of the world. See, as the reading took place, one on his left and one on his right, when Christ hung there on the cross, the symbolic concept here, the one on the left and one on the right represents heaven and hell. Come on, pray with me a little while. Because if you really think about it, one of them, he told that one day you shall be with me in paradise. Do I have a witness? Yes. And without question, you and I ought to know that just one day in God's kingdom will pay for everything that you went through on this side of Jordan. I found out that when I hear the song, the old rugged cross, I think about how he went out on a hill just to hang for you and I. It was a level of suffering for those who don't know what love is. It was also a sacred suffering for the sinful concepts and the world and the ways that we have in this day and time. It was a faultless suffering for the filth and the malice of sin that is hovered around us on a day-by-day basis. It was a faithful suffering for the foolish things that we take for granted in this day and time. It was an honest suffering for the horrible things that was said and done even there at the cross. But still, he hung, bled, and died for every one of us. There has never been, nor will there ever be, another place like what happened way out on this hill. See, I feel deep inside that no other person would have done this for me. No other sacrifice would mean anything like the one that Jesus did at Calvary. My brothers and sisters, it was there in the middle of that cross where this great physician suffered for the sick. But yet we still have sick folk in the church. I'm not talking about physically sick. We have folk in the church that are spiritually sick. Many that don't know Jesus. Many don't want to know Jesus. And there are others that are just flat out confused. They're not really concerned about not only their souls, but what the price that Jesus paid for them. Many don't believe that he really died for their sins. The assumption that your soul is saved is the wrong assumption. You ought to know that your soul is saved. You ought to know that there's a realization. When you take a trip up the hill and look out way out on Calvary, what Jesus really did for you. And when you realize that, you can't help but wave your hand and say, thank you, Lord, for all that you've done for me. Not only thank him on the early in the morning, the late in the midnight hour, you ought to be able to say, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. It was this lamb that suffered for the wolves of this world. It was the master that suffered for the servants, and all he's asking you to just follow him so he can make you fishers of men. It was the king that suffered for the beggars. And I'm not talking about begging for food. We ought to be out here on hands and knees asking not only forgiveness, but asking God to have mercy on our souls. It was a prince who suffered for the purpose of life, because he is King of Kings. Yes. He is Lord of Lords. Yes. You ought to know that he is the Alpha and Omega, your beginning as well as your end. He should be all that you need in this day and time. Amen. And although I think about much beauty has been created in the result of Christ going to Calvary, Calvary was not a place of beauty, although much rejoicing had been done in and around, even around the world, due to what Calvary was. The cross that he bore for you and I certainly was a place of joy. Do I have a witness? Amen. Although much of our comfort settled in with our hearts, millions around the world, for those that believe in what Calvary really represents, Golgotha was not a comfortable place. It was a place of pain and suffering. I find out that at Calvary was a falsely accused of one by the priest. So that little mess that somebody blamed on you and said you did, you need to get over it. Because there's no comparison when Jesus went to the cross for us. The Bible even tells us that they could find no fault. It was at Calvary Christ was bound by the guards, beaten by the captors, despised by the Pharisees, hated by the Sadducees, and betrayed by his friends. Even the closest one to him denied him. And sometimes we can sit and worship and figure that we're doing God a favor just by coming to church. I could feel Sister Hearn this morning in some of the frustration that the more you prepare for his coming back, the less you see folk in church. But when he comes, it's going to be like Noah and the ark. When he comes, there's going to be folks beating on the church door, trying to get in. But it's going to be too late. The churches cannot see in this day and time, and we're talking about mega to 3, that the need to know what Calvary was all about is to walk in the newness of life, as to walk how God would have us to walk, as to talk and do the thing. A lot of folks misunderstand the whole concept of following Christ. Following him is not going to a party or a joke session or a gathering just to say that I've fellowshiped with somebody on today. You can do that at home. You can invite 40 folk over your house and just throw down. They do it every Sunday. Amen. But when you come to a place of worship, there ought to be some praise in your motion. There ought to be some action in your heart. There ought to be some love in your life. Come on, help me somebody. There ought to be something about you that makes a difference of what Jesus said. I believe if you appreciate it, and I hate to even use that word, because mercy and grace ought to tell you that God don't need your appreciation.
He needs our desperation.
Huh?
Come on now.
I didn't hear that.
He needs our desperation.
Desperate about what? What are you desperate about?
Desperate enough to serve him.
How many people in here really want to serve the Lord?
Jesus.
Huh? If I would use the clarity of how we serve God is based on our relationship.
Oh yeah.
Because see, the desperation is not the key word here that I want you to focus on. What I want you to focus on is you need God, not because you're desperate. You need God because the only way you can see him is through salvation.
Amen.
Come on, help me somebody. In our efforts to worship him in spirit and in truth, if the truth be told, you cannot turn on one minute and turn off the next when it comes to realizing what Jesus did way out on the hill. Somebody shout, way out on the hill. Not only that, it was not just any hill. And I want you to understand that if it was not sufficient in human or cruel treatment within itself, God sent his son just to be stripped of his garments when you half of the time don't want to wear what he's blessed you with. Even use the excuse, well, I don't have nothing to wear after church. Come on, somebody. He was slapped on his cheek, whipped. With the type of whip that we've never seen. Cut glass and marble, graded into the leather. And every time they hit him, it was for your sins and mine. He knew what he had to do. He could have called a host of armies to come and free him up. But Jesus wanted to die for you because he knew that he was sent to do the Master's will. And our attitude or our disposition today in church going or following Christ has become a reluctant way of almost and a call when it comes to religion. And the death of what he died for had nothing to do with religion. It had all to do with redemption. There is a difference in religion and redemption. Redemption means redeemed. Redeemed from what? From your sin. So you need to know that from the youngest to the oldest in here, that you are redeemed from your sin. It's bad enough to be guilty, but to be delivered, set free, is another thing all by itself. If they couldn't keep him in the ground, they oughtn't be able to keep you in your seat when it comes to the redemptive side of what he's done for you. Somebody said, you don't know like I know what he's done for me. I don't know what you came to do, but I come to praise the Lord. I come to lift my voice. I come to shout for joy. I come to praise his name. Everything that has breath ought to praise the Lord.
Oh yeah.
Way out on the hill. A whole lot happened. And until we realize what happened on that hill, we're not going to be able to break free the chains that bind us. I can't tell you how to worship. I wouldn't dare tell you. But I'll tell you this. If you study the Word, you can't help but worship. Help me somebody. I said, if you study the Word, you can't help but worship. And it's not about a hidden agenda. Because see, this is more than a book. When you open it up, you're looking at the face of God. It doesn't take an imagination. It just takes a heart that is ready to receive. Way out on the hill. Think about it. What he did for your wretched self. When I say yours, I'm talking about mine as well. For everything about you, he already paid the price. Think about it. Stretch wide. The 6th to the 9th hour. I find myself driving sometimes, thinking about how good God has been to me. And I say to myself, Lord, did you have to do all of that for me? And he says quietly, yes, I did. We have to get deep enough in our worship as well as our praise to understand that you're just here on borrowed time. As he came in the flesh, you appeared in the flesh. The only difference is we have a different Father. Our Father was imperfect, but Jesus was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
He came from the Father above. He didn't come by way of the way we have the children population now. When you really think about it, our Savior sending His Son through the womb of a mother. He said, here, let me give you a sacrifice here that will free you from total punishment. And when I think about the two thieves laying there, I never pictured heaven or hell. Late last night, it just flashed on me. Heaven over here and hell over there. And it was represented right there from the cross. And neither one of them got up out of the grave. But He did. So our doubts and our curiosity and our fears should be amplified. We ought to be getting ready for His coming back. I preach Sunday after Sunday, only to watch many of you leave and go right back into the same bag of worms. But it's a wake-up call. And the wake-up call is, you're out on a hill, and He paid for your life to be healed. It's not a question of whether you want to be healed or not. He had already chosen you. But He expects you to do this willingly and on your own. Nobody's going to force you. Young people, I'm not going to force you to stay in the church. All I got to do is teach you that this is where you should be. And the choice is really not left up to you in that status. Because your soul will tell you, as the word, who should fall. Elders, leaders, Bible thumpers. Knowing the Bible is one thing, but living it is another. God expects you and I to prepare for His coming back. And the preparation, do you ever wonder why He blesses you to see another day? It's not because of anything that you've done or that you're so good or so great. There's something you missed in the day before that He's giving you a chance to catch up on. So each day you, help me Holy Ghost, each day you set up on the side of the bed, ask yourself the question, Lord, what will Thou have me to do today? For the glory and honor of Your name. And when you do this, you'll get an answer every time. Before the day is out or somewhere, midday, doesn't matter. He may not come when you want Him. Somebody answered that for me. But He's always on time. If you backslid out into the world, there's no such animals you catching up somewhere down the road. You need to slide forward as fast as you slid back and get back into the rim of what God wants you to do. Time is running out. We're just picturing a wave of death, sicknesses, folk dying. 4 funerals in the last 4 days. And it's not over yet. As fast as somebody dies in sickness, there's some idiot out there taking a life. One right on top of the other. Don't even look at the newspapers. Don't turn on the news. It's happening all around you. There is darkness, weakness all around you. What do you think is keeping you from day to day? It's not because you hide in your house. God is keeping you day by day. And time is running out.